Hi, Warriors. How's everyone doing today? Dixie made a new low for the move. I'm buying it. I'm scaling it. How are you, Ingmar? Steve, AJ, James, Blake, how are you, buddy? Ran, Kman, and I know Ryan is here as well. So we have the team here. We're at FOMO in what market, Brand? Everything? Okay. I think Blake was talking yesterday. A lot of guys in the room were talking about the level it got to, right, Blake? So let's go here. There is some divergence on the daily divergence held. 4 hours, a little sketchy. So here it is. All right, trying to bounce back. See, we're diverging here. You know, we could go to 96. We could go to 95. My contention, we're pretty close. So I think Euro got up to about 17.5 last night. And with the dollar making a new low, Canada isn't yet. So there's really, it showed a lot of relative strength, right? It might, trade 6.5. I don't think it's going to make a new low. Let me get to Ryan here. How are you, buddy?
I started to speak and then I just said good morning and then I'm going to mute myself. I'll be back. I'll be back in a second.
Okay. All right, buddy. Hi, Ryan. Good morning. I don't know if Kman's here. Is he here too?
Morning,
I didn't see him. How are you, buddy?
Yeah,
So here we are. New highs. Was in the chat. Some guys had targets around 17.5 in Euro.
Yeah, our good mate Ben. He likes his funny animal shapes and everything, but he's hit one out the park with this one.
Okay, so I mean this, I don't know if we're going to reverse on the week, but I think we're 38.50 was a target in cable. You doing anything here? Are you probing any kind of dollar long? Aussie is another one that hasn't made a new high compared to like Canada, and it's really holding up well is USD NOK. Look at that chart with a strong dollar, a weak dollar, excuse me.
There's different speeds. There's different speeds going on. You obviously got cable, euro dollar rocketing up. Then you got dollar CAD, which is, it's moving, but it's not going as fast as everything else.
Yeah.
Then you look at the CAD crosses, Kiwi CAD, Pound CAD, Euro CAD, they're all rocketing. So I think dollar CAD is caught in between this dollar selling and Canadian selling. So it's a bit sort of caught in the vortex, shall we say. But
oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in the vortex.
Yeah, well, you and me both, mate.
I mean, I've been in the vortex for about, I don't know, 40 years.
You can't get out of it.
Help. Anyway, so you doing anything in here or just a spectator?
I actually hit that dollar CAD yesterday because it as we said on the show yesterday, Blake was talking about head and shoulders. I basically hit the shoulder for a little short. Yeah. So that's on its way. I'm still in with buy stops in Aussie dollar. We hit that 65.50 again today. Still can't break it. So experience tells me if it does break, then it should have some volatility there and have some legs through it, or it will just mug me off and go through by 15 pips and reverse 100.
Yeah,
that's usually the way.
That's the way this week kind of felt.
Yeah.
I mean, the market really was in shock after the reversals that we had Monday, and you said early in the week to take care. Wish I'd listened to you.
I was long Aussie dollar. I was long Aussie dollar, 64.80s, 64.40s. I got flipped out on that move through 64, and it's ripped back. But I can't cry over spilt milk. You have to plot the next trade, and the next trade is seeing if we get a break. And same thing happened with dollar yen at 155. That failed, and then it shot up yesterday to near 146. Shit happens. But I'm not doing any big trades at the moment. I don't, I can take a few bruises to the face. It's not going to knock me down. Dollar Swiss.
Feels like Friday anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, dearie me. I woke up this morning and saw it was Thursday, and I thought, oh crap, we've got 2 more days of this.
Yeah. So US dollar Swiss, I have it here somewhere, but anyway.
He's had a breakdown. I traded off, tried a little scalp off the level, got 20 pips one side and gave up 20 pips the other side. So,
okay. Yeah.
That's
so
if you're not in any of these big trending moves, it's all right to, give yourself a little go at these levels. But I'm certainly not going to be chasing euro dollar up here. And we got over 4 billion expiring at 117 in 2 hours. So I would not be surprised if we glued to that figure for a while.
It's interesting you bring up an option strike. I heard on I think it was maybe in a YouTube video that that the reason that 59.20 held here, that there was that it was pinned by a huge size in JP Morgan's whale fund, and that's why it couldn't get through 59.20. Had some kind of 5900 strike that was defended. It's amazing how the option markets can almost like manipulate price.
Yeah, it can do if they're big enough. If they're big enough, I wish we heard that 12 days ago.
Yeah. Me too. I wish I would. So here we are.
You wouldn't be sitting here now. We're on our boats.
Yeah. So information that's old news doesn't help much, but we're almost at new highs for the move here in the S&Ps. We did make new highs in NASDAQ for new all-time highs. So risk on. I think it's getting a little up here. Getting a little bit,
Frothy.
thin air.
Yeah.
Up here, it's amazing that we're not blowing out the divergence yet with a move like this, but I wouldn't have FOMO here either. Saw a count, we could go to 61, 40, 50, 60, and then get some type of correction back down towards 5,700, which would be a surprise. And that, maybe the trouble happens in early July when the tariffs are supposed to kick in, or we don't have many deals going into that. The reality of tariffs is only about a week away, right?
Well, we're talking about that this morning. India was supposedly one of the biggest done deals they've got, and then headlines pop up that they've got disagreements, blockages, loggerheads over taxes or something over autos, and next week a lot of data, NFP, and we will start getting back into the tariff trading and seeing whether we're going to get the can kicked again and the usual stuff, threat, and then 11th hour, I will give you another month.
Okay. Is Kman here, or he took the day off?
He's here.
Oh, good. All right. Good morning, Kman.
He's waving. Don't know what his mic's doing.
Oh, maybe he can. Are you there, buddy? All right. Maybe he's busy or something. All right. Because silver has a good move. This is really with the dollar breaking the new lows. This should be the opportunity for the metals to do something. Gold looks heavy to me. I don't know if we're gonna make a new high.
I was gonna say something about that today, Dale. When you've got the dollar just getting absolutely blasted. Yes, there's a lot of divergence. It's corporate month end. There are risks now with the dollar, at least in the next couple of days with the PCE. But still, with the dollar getting smashed, you have things like gold that should be rallying, you would think would rally. And what happens if it breaks 3,300 and gold? What happens then? I mean, and tell me, there's a shit ton of shorts in gold right now. There's no
There
one.
are?
They're not.
Oh,
I'm being
yeah. Oh,
sarcastic. You know
oh,
what I'm
okay.
saying?
I
Tell me there is. There's
I
no
think that
who's bearish? Who's
I think
bearish?
this is what happens over the coming months.
You know, Dale, you've been doing this longer than most around here, and
Thank you. Just call me Dale the
I
dinosaur.
was gonna, you know, I was trying not to go there, but I was
Uh,
just saying you've
uh,
seen more than most of us, and you know, I think you might even have Kman by a couple of years if I'm not
oh,
mistaken.
I have everyone by a couple.
Okay,
No
so
one's older than me, Blake.
so you know, with that being
He
said,
he
all
means a
of us,
couple of decades.
hey,
Yeah, all
look
right.
at the young kid chiming in.
Yeah,
The young 45-year-old chiming
it's good
in
to
now.
have a senior citizen on your staff.
That's
That's
right.
where,
AARP for everyone.
yeah,
No, but seriously, Dale, you know, when you see these, when you notice these divergences and what something should normally be correlated,
yeah,
that's a red flag for us. It doesn't necessarily mean, hey, we should be trading it. But now we have to be on the lookout. Now we have to be looking at gold and saying, okay, well, what if? You know, what if we see 3,300 go? I mean, if you're long and you're late to the party buying gold, let's say you picked it up at 3,400 sometime over the course of the last, you know, couple of weeks, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna buy gold. I'm sitting in it. Where are your pain points? You know, where are those levels that make you second guess what you're doing? And that's the way I'm gonna start looking at gold at this point. You know, what levels am I gonna go? You know, I don't think I want to be long anymore. And I think 3,300 is the first level of
yeah.
many that we'll be looking at if we start to see a sell
So
off here.
that's $150 formation. So that would take it to 3150 on a breakdown. Just
Well, yeah, and
this
then okay,
formation.
what happens if you break 3,150? Then you're like looking at 3,000. If it breaks
Yeah,
3,000, then you're like, shit, this thing might see 2,800 again. You know, those are
that's
the
a number, Blake. 2750. That's the number.
there
So
you go. You know, those are things that you know, I'm not saying that's gonna happen. I think those are things that are a bit of a risk. So apparently K-Man's microphone is not working. Do you mind if I take over here, Dale?
no, not at all, bro. Go ahead.
Okay. So you know what kicked off you know, I'm okay, so there's something that just happened as I was filming the trade-off show with Chris Weston yesterday. And you know, I'm going to take you over to Forex Analytics. I'm going to take you over to the Live Squawk feed over here. Um, uh, if you go, I have to go back and search for it exactly when it came out last night. When you're talking about, I'll have to see where the headline is. I'll sit here and I forget exactly because it's in military hours or in military format. Um, when last night the nominations or the who's being looked at with Besant, Waller, Hassett, I believe, you know, and the, and the Trump administration made it a point to say those that you know that basically look good on TV.
Yeah,
I forget what the actual wording was.
it
I
is.
first of all, I almost fell out of my chair. The first thing I said in the chat room, I was like, "Oh my God, we're this The Apprentice," you know, again, you know, but now it's with Fed governors. But the more important thing, the reason why the dollar really came under pressure right when that came out is now, and I just heard another analyst talk about it. Chris Weston and I were like, "Oh shit, we're gonna have a shadow Fed." You know, because we were on air. Well, not we were getting ready to post our stuff and film the Australian show last night. We were like, "Wait a second, you're gonna have like, let's say the Trump administration says, you know, gives the nod to Waller. Waller's our next Fed president. Well, think about the pressure Powell's gonna get from Waller, and there's a lot of that influence right there just thinking about that out loud, that caused the dollar to gap lower and move lower, in Asia. Now we've seen another move. We've seen another, kind of move in European trade as well, as the euro hits basically 117.50. 161% extension of this last move, the long-term 78% retracement. Yeah, if you're along for, or if you're in the Forex Analytics community rating the basic technical analysis all week long, we've been looking at 117.50. Benedict in our chat room, or Ben, and other traders have been targeting that. I couldn't hold the euro long overnight because we were stabbing at the stops, or stabbing at the stops above 117. So I ended up closing out all of my euro last night, at 117.03, because I wasn't sure how far it would go, and I actually wanted to sleep last night. But man, if you were in the Forex Analytics chat room, and by the way, all you have to do is when you're on the platform, you click this button right here next to your name. That launches our chat room. You can get in the trades room. You can see exactly where Kman was taking profits on his, where Ryan was cutting pieces off of his positions, and then everybody else. You can see Nick's in there. Everybody's been taking advantage of this move. But now that we've gotten here, we do have corporate month end. Kman's been talking about it all week long. Ryan, since Kman, obviously his microphone is not working, you're going to be our Kman proxy. So if you can give us in a Belgian type of accent, what would Kman say about the euro right now at these levels?
Yeah,
yeah, Kman, you're hearing this, right? I gotta hear a really poor UK brother man slang on the Flow Show tomorrow morning, and you're gonna get it. So let's hear it, Ryan. Let's hear it.
I can't do Belgian accents. It's sort of a hodgepodge of everything.
No, it's good.
He's done what a lot of sensible traders are doing. He's slicing out some of his longs in this move, because you might as well, when you see big levels. If you've got big levels, you've got to respect them for taking profits. No good trading off a big level that you've watched for ages and then ignoring every level that you got on your chart because you think it's going to go to the moon. So you get to a level that, as Dale used to say, what would you do at that level if you weren't in a position? Well, you might want to short it, but he's long, so he's taking profit against it, which is very sensible. Keep a little bit on, and if it carries on, then all the good. You can always add back. But yeah, the problem we have now, and a lot of traders are going to have, is FOMO, and everyone going to want to chase every little dip in the euro, and that's probably the most dangerous thing to do right now.
Yeah, yesterday I mapped out how we could get to 120 by next week. Now next week is going to be an important week, as we're going to have the jobs reports next week. Yeah, let me make sure I'm not speaking out of
right. And it's 4th of July. Oh,
so,
is it?
Yeah,
it
is a holiday. It's our Independence Day. It's the day we broke free of you freaking people. You people. Just kidding. I'm joking. What I was trying to do yesterday, and if you're on the morning edge, I was trying to illustrate how we can actually get to 120 in the euro by next week. So a couple of things have to happen, and it all starts with today. Today we have the weekly unemployment claims. So jobs report, our weekly unemployment claims really have to stay steady. We stay in the 240, 250 range. It doesn't really change the outlook. Our jobs picture is still good. The weekly unemployment claims is basically the best or most real-time data that we get as traders. You may not believe it. You may say it's horseshit because, all the revisions, at the end of the year, whatever, but it is the most, current up-to-date stuff that we all see every week. So we got that. That needs to stay steady, but we have durable goods orders, which, if it continues to be, if we continue to see a little softness in this, in some of this hard data, like durable goods, that's another thing, that will keep the dollar weak, but also, what we will be looking at is the GDP final prices today, and then tomorrow is going to be the PCE. And you have to think about this. If the euro is literally trading in breakout territory, let's just call it above 116.50, which I think I even have bids in today to buy at 116.50 if we see it again today. If the euro, you know, gets to tomorrow for PCE and we're trading above 116.50, that PCE number is in line or slightly lower. It's going to allow for the equity markets to hit all-time highs. S&P will see above 6150 on weak inflation because now you have a potential shadow Fed that's going to be eventually just cutting rates all over the place. Getting a yes man in the FOMC, but you're also going to have inflation coming down, which also, Powell would argue that he could realistically cut rates, especially maybe even a little bit earlier. September could be a done deal and then some. So we could see if the PCE data is in line or soft. We could see stocks at new all-time highs. We can see the euro dollar, trading higher. And then at the end of the week, if we're above 116.50 and closer to 117 where we're at right now, who's going to stand in front of the market if the euro's in breakout territory and the stock market's in breakout territory and you have weak PCE numbers? We could realistically be trading above 118 by the end of the day tomorrow. So now you start thinking, okay, well, if we're at 118 by tomorrow, next week, with the jobs report, people are going to be all concerned about, the labor market softening. We could really make a move to 120. And then by next Friday, Ryan, let's say the jobs report just isn't that bad and we're trading at 120. And, all of a sudden we get a spike up to 120. That's that. I've been trying to figure out what my argument is for going long the dollar when the euro gets to 120. I just mapped out my entire trade for you guys on how we get there, and if we get there, what I'm going to do when we get there. Only if there's a decent jobs report. Now, that doesn't mean that it's all going to happen like that. It doesn't mean that, I always pre-plot what I'm going to do before I do it. We don't here at Forex Analytics, we don't give you weatherman analysis. Like I sit here in the chat room and say, look, I'm going to be buying the euro dollar at 116.50 overnight. I said that in the general chat room last night. I tell you things I'm going to do beforehand, not after the fact. Like, oh, hey, dumbass, why didn't you sell it at 117.50? You knew exactly why we were selling at 117.50 and why the majority of our community was doing that. Unlike everywhere else, over here at Forex Analytics, that's what we do. We pre-plan everything, and it doesn't mean everything's going to go to plan, but you have to go through the thought process and understand why things are happening the way they're happening and why they might be falling into place. Now, Ryan, how often do your plans come to fruition, and how often do they fall apart when you're making and developing these trading plans that we clearly illustrate in our chat rooms every single day?
Well, it's difficult to answer. I only answer it by when I trade and how long I've stayed in this business, and had more winners and losers. That's the only way you can judge it. You're absolutely right. You've got to have a plan when you're trading. You trade your plan. But the funny thing with analysis is, and if I'm in the middle of something, like dollar yen, it's in the middle of ranges. All you can do is say, right, well, I'm going to look down here. I'm going to look up there. I'm going to have my levels above and below that I'm going to potentially trade. And I only trade those when the price gets there. And I'm happy with the reason the price gets there. And you're the same. You're not one of these traders who says, oh, I'm going to buy this level, sell that level, no matter what happens. You always have to know why a price has moved to your level. Because if it's something big, then you decide not to trade it, and that might be the best move. People who would have been shorting into 117, probably got taken out because maybe they didn't realize what type of move they were trading. But that is trading. So you've just got to make sure you make more on your winners than you do on your losers. That's all you got to do. It doesn't matter if you've got a 50-50 win-loss ratio. If you're making more on the winning 50 than you are losing on the losing 50, you're going to make money.
That's right. And planning what you're going to do I was just having a conversation with Kman in the chat room since poor K, his microphone's not working.
Testing.
Oh, hey, you are working, Kman. Oh, I
Uh-huh.
want to hear your best Ryan impersonation right now.
No, I won't get into that. I won't get into that.
All right. Well, hey.
No, it's all about thin hair.
Yeah. Oh, damn. Okay. Well, hey, Kay, since we just have a couple minutes, let's hear your, without your UK, accent. Let's hear what you have to say about the market action.
Well, I've taken most of the profit. I've scaled really down a lot of my dollar shorts today, and yeah, everybody's looking at that 117.50, 70 cable as well, 137.5 up to 138, decent levels. But my bias hasn't changed, so anywhere if I'm seeing some US corporate dollar shopping today, I may just re-enter, I don't think the move is over. There's a whole basket of things which are for the time being weighing on the dollar, and but choose your dollar wisely is always what I'm saying as well. I mean, it's clear that the money is rebalancing mainly into euro and sterling. Then you have other currencies which sometimes accelerate, but most of them lag, because if you look at Aussie, Kiwi, Canada, they are laggers. But then again, they could catch up all of a sudden, and I'm thinking perhaps into month end stuff like Aussie, Kiwi, which have not seen fresh highs yet. They may all of a sudden catch up, but remains to be confirmed. If that Aussie breaks 65.5 decisively, high 60s on the Kiwi, maybe off to the races there as well.
Okay. Thank you, Kman. Hey, George says, but there are times when price gets to a level you want to buy and you don't buy, as you earlier said. Do you know why that is, George? I do a lot of coaching. You know who I coach? Just so you guys know, if you jump into the trader funding program for the very first time and you want, well, actually, I don't do this with if you want funding immediately, which you can do, you can just click here and you can get capital, trading capital. So if you don't understand how to do that with the trader funding program, just go to our website. It's trader funding program, and you can find it on Forex Analytix right here. But the people that go through the assessment, the one-step assessment, I actually coach for 45 minutes. I talk about some of the major issues. And I was talking to a lady, and I'm not going to call her out right now. She, just because, it's her own personal information. She's listening in right at this moment, I'm sure. She's from Chicago, trading in the CME. And she has decades of trading experience. And we were having this discussion yesterday. One of the reasons why that happens, George, is because you're not in the right frame of mind. When you're trading. I mean, most of us, when we miss a position or we get into a position and we're like, damn, I knew the euro was going to rally here and I had this little position and I made very little money. The reason why that happens is your frame of mind. It's not anything more than that. And so
it's all in your head.
Yeah,
and human psychology.
It is, but there's certain steps you have to take in order to avoid that. And those are things that, when you sit down and work one-on-one with, whether it's myself or Ryan or Kman or, any of us from a coaching point of view, you'll quickly understand that what I've learned over the years is not to put myself in that frame of mind. There are certain steps that I have to go through not to do that, not to get there. But anyway, George, that's a common issue, but how you avoid it is tackleable. I don't know if that's the right word.
The problem is moves always look the most offered at the bottom and the most beat at the top.
Things at resistance, it's the most bullish.
Because the people run after the move, and then you get this kind of move. But you should really just continue to trade your plan. If that's your level, that's your level, and no one else is going to tell you it's the wrong or the right level.
Shoot,
Yeah, look at that
I'm not set up at
15-minute
all.
chart. 15-minute chart on euros going
I'm
to.
sorry, guys. I'm trying to get set up here. I just we have data coming out right now. My bad. There it comes.
Massive durable goods, which are usually not impacting anything.
Yeah, what are the prices?
Weaker GDP. Weaker GDP.
Yeah. And
Haven't had the claims yet. Price is sticky, but it's all Q1. Huh? Let's not forget it's Q1. We are nearly at the end of Q2, guys.
Yeah, it's the final numbers.
Yeah.
Don't worry
All
about
right.
PCE either. It's all old stuff.
Yeah. What did you guys see the claims numbers come through real quick?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, okay. I was
236, continuing 1.974 million. So that's
Oh,
up.
yeah, it just popped up. Okay. So yeah, that's not good. I don't know what to do with this here. I think that the data is supportive enough to be selling dollars. If we get some dollar buying today for corporate month end, if that does go through and we see the euro slip back to 116, 50s, I think I would buy dollars in that on a dip like that. Just don't know if we're going to get it. S&P's coming off just a little bit here. Gold's coming off too. Dollar's actually firming just a hair. Here we go. Firming just a hair. You
Here
guys
we
have
go
any
again.
opinions here? I know Dale's got his guest here, so I
Don't worry about it, Blake. He's sick. Alexander
Oh,
told me he
shit.
doesn't feel well. So,
Oh, great. Then you know what? We have a great guest today. His name's Steve Vagaris. Let's bring Steve in. Steve, what are your thoughts about the dollar here and the euro up at these levels? I mean, the euro's got to be a good value proposition if it's been to 160. If you liked it at 160, you got to like it at 116, right?
I haven't changed my mind about the dollar. The dollar remains in a downtrend at the moment, and we took a breather yesterday, and I think there is more to go, unless we get some big escalation in Middle Eastern issues, etc. Of course,
All
that
right.
can
Well,
change things.
so basically, you think the dollar is going to continue to move lower. At what
Yes.
point? And I got to ask. I'm going to ask everybody this. I'm going to ask you, Steve, and then I'm going to go to Dale, and then I'm going to ask Ryan. I'm going to ask Kman. At what point is it a value proposition where you go, wait a second, wait a second? I mean, you look around and you're like, the U.S. economy is not bad.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
No, we have no we have no common ground to discuss then.
it's not. It's. I mean, the data is not like horrible.
How do
You
you
know,
call an economy that has a 2 trillion real deficit on an annual basis good?
well, again, relatively speaking, when
Relatively to what?
but
I can think of a country that has in the Western world that has its trajectory of unsustainability being worse than the US at the moment.
all right. Well, then, so what you're gonna say then is you
Yes, there
would
is growth.
rather
I mean, there is economic activity in the US, etc. All that is true, but the U.S. government as U.S. government and the U.S. public as U.S. public is in a completely unsustainable path.
look. I'm the biggest dollar bear out there. I've been selling dollars nonstop since the euro has been at 105, and since they
102.
announced. Yeah, maybe 102, I
We
guess.
had
But really,
102
really,
diagnosed.
as soon as they announced that the fiscal spending package in Germany, I started selling the shit out of the dollar, and I've been selling dollars almost every single day up until about a week ago, and then I started playing both sides, and then I was short dollars through last night, through the last few days. I'm about as big of a dollar bear as they come, Steve. So let me just make sure we all understand that. But At what point after having a big move like you've seen here, is
At
there
the
going
point
to
that something
because nothing
materially,
goes straight,
yeah, at the point that
down.
something materially changes, either in one side or the other side of the Atlantic.
Okay. Ryan, what do you think? When are there going to be value shoppers, if there is going to be any, for the dollar?
Well, the lower it goes, because you're always going to get your bottom pickers. But you know, if we knew when it was going to change, I'll be lining up orders. We don't know when it's going to change, but we've got the trade deadline coming up. You know, if NFP's a crap one next week, as we've been talking in the room just before a US holiday, because it's on the Thursday. You know, that you see the dollar get crunched, and
Okay, I hear.
After that, who knows?
I hear everybody, and you guys, you and Michael Brown and Steve, you gotta jump in here too on this. You and Michael Brown badmouth the Eurozone economy and say, why the hell am I buying euros up here? You know, when is a trader or an investor going to go, why in the hell am I buying the euro right now at 120 or 125 or 130 or 117.50? At what point do people go, why am I buying euros? Do people do that? Will traders do that?
Yeah, we all do that. But we
What?
know that's one of the risks to being long the euro, because at some point the fundamentals are going to have to stack up as well. And if they do, if this 5% defence spending and Germany's 500 billion they found down the back of the sofa get the economy working, then it's got the support of the economy, and off we go. But if it doesn't, then it's going to run out of steam at some point, because no one's going to sell the dollar to, you know, into a hole in the floor. It's just not going to happen. That doesn't happen.
Okay, then that goes back to Steve's argument. So, Steve, what do you say about that? I mean, you know, when you're looking around at alternatives, and you go, "Oh, wait a second, I am buying the euro in this case." You know what I mean? So, where do you turn? What do you do aside from buying gold? I'm going to talk fiat, not let's go buy gold, let's go buy Bitcoin, let's
Yeah,
go.
but why?
No, I'm talking fiat because it's all relative. When you're talking about currencies, I'm not if I have a Forex account and I'm trading currencies, I get the idea of I just want to go buy gold. Let's fucking sell everything and just buy gold and just sit in gold and never trade again. But we're traders. We make money in the volatility. So, if I have to stick to fiat, what am I going to buy?
Depends. At the moment, it's definitely not an easy decision, but I'd say the dollar should continue to underperform.
Okay. All right. Kman, do you have any thoughts on this? And sorry, Dale, I'm coming to you too. So
Yeah, I do. I think the day the dollar turns around is when the new appointee by Trump walks into the door, cuts 150 BPs, the market will turn around and say, providing the US data are not completely falling out of bed by that day, but then that day the dollar turns around, because then the market is going to say, okay, we got what we wanted, so now it's done. We've had the position for I don't know, a year, and now we can turn around because the data are not too bad after all. But I think before that,
and realistically, that could be at like 130, right?
it could be, yeah,
Could
it
be.
could.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, it could well be, because I think there's a kind of a chance that with the money flowing into Europe, remember why the dollar has been so strong for so many years, relatively speaking, is because a lot of investors are funding the US debt. Now, if you see inflows in the euro, that balance shifts a little bit. And I think we can never be sure, but there is a chance that European data improve in the second half of the year. And those inflows in the euro, they can be used by governments to fund also their debt, because the ECB is rather not going to raise rates anymore. So they are going to be funding at cheaper rates than than the dollar rates. So I think that can still fuel the euro strength. But if the US data don't materially deteriorate, but Trump gets his dove into the Fed, the market will continue to trade it. But the day they cut, if the US data don't materially weaken by then I think the dollar turns around and we go back to dollar buying.
Interesting. And thank you very much, Kman. And I've been trying to figure out an argument to be buying dollars because I do want to sell the euro at 120. I'm just trying to fish around, guys, to find out if there's any viable reason to be long dollars. And really, I haven't found one. And I'm asking my team. I'm asking you in a different way to see
Well,
if
the
there is
weathermen
any.
will tell you after the fact
Oh yeah,
why
of
the
course they will.
okay. So
Yeah.
I think the one reason is that the low is 102, and that we could be completing this wave here, you know, up at 118 if
Yeah.
it wants to stretch to 120. And then we could look for fib retracements of this whole move from 102 to 118. That's 16. So, 38% retracement would be a pretty big trade. So just based on structure rather than what's going to be the news catalyst. And I think Grega, who's been long and right also euro, is looking for this wave to complete here in, price wise, time wise, few weeks.
Yeah, his wave five comes in
Yeah.
around 118, 117.
Yeah.
Well, I guess 118, 119 level. And look, guys, I ask you these questions because we trade there's a few things that we do. Technical, you can look at the charts and say, I'm just trading off the charts. That is a lazy way of trading. That is really not, it's like driving with one eye closed. It's like, not knowing why something is happening and just trading off price. We can teach monkeys to do that, but understanding the whys on why the market is moving is so vitally important for for your confidence in when you take a position. The whys do matter. And what I'm trying to do is saying, if I'm gonna stick my leg out, or stick my neck out, excuse me, and buy, the dollar when it gets to 120, I want to know why I'm doing it, and do I have a good reason? Because I can trade off the technical levels, which, look, I'm, as we've clearly shown you here, this is a Gartley pattern. That right there is 161% extension of this move. It's triangle resistance. There are 1,000 technical reasons why I'm going to short it up there, but my size is going to depend on, do I have the conviction and some fundamental reason to be buying the dollar at that point? And based on asking Steve, his answer is no fucking way. And I'm just summarizing what you said, Steve. Talking to Ryan, came in.
Keep in mind, my answer was, it had the long-term picture in mind, right? I'm not doubting that there are going to be oscillations, along the way. There's going to be plenty of them.
Don't
And
forget
right.
positioning.
And positioning,
too,
which is extremely, you're right, Dale, is extremely bearish the dollar right now, which is like, the boat is almost capsized. So
you're right, Blake, but don't forget that it's been a very, very short period of time since we saw the first glimpses, which is something extremely serious, of the market losing its faith in the dollar.
yeah, and you're right. It's been a very short period of time. Matter of fact, when that
And
bill
that's a very
came out,
serious incident.
this has been a 10% move, which in currency terms is, I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, in 3 months, we've had a 10% move. I mean, K-Man, you've been trading currencies for forever and a day.
Yeah.
When do you see a 10% move in the dollar in 3 months like that? It's not often.
Well, it doesn't happen every day, but we have been put to sleep by the latest dollar moves that we have seen over the past years, because years prior, we were much more used to have like quite big moves. And even if you look at post-pandemic, we did about how much is 20% move in a year's time. So I mean, no, I wouldn't call them anything extraordinary. It's a bit rapid, but that is post-pandemic still trading. We spoke about that already like 3-4 years ago. I mean, you will see that in the pandemic because there's people are reacting a lot faster to any moves. Now the bond market is quieting down, so maybe the FX is also going to slow down in to a certain extent. But we haven't seen extremely big how shall I call it rebalancing of investors' portfolios uh, with such a big basket of reasons why over the past since the European crisis, basically, and where people needed to rebalance a lot. And if you are in a scenario where the big investors are rebalancing, um, we are probably still going to see much more moves. We never know when it ends, when they are done. But since there is so much money in the system right now, they will have to go on for a while. They can't do it all even in a week or 2 weeks. So I wouldn't really call it an outsized move. It's a rapid move, but it's nothing that we have not seen for those who have been in the markets for a very long time. It's not something that we haven't seen in the past. We have seen these kind of moves on big rebalancing. But yeah, it's a big move for very novice traders. That is quite a big move. And the problem is with day traders and especially the newer ones, when they see 150 pips move, they think you need to counter trade everything.
Yeah.
Well, look at what we are doing now, or what the market is doing now, and revisit your strategy if you think that you need to counter trade everything.
All right. Hey, I'm gonna wrap things up with and I'm gonna just ask you guys what you're doing today. But Dimitri asked about why the Swiss is so strong. I think a lot of it stems from, the Swiss National Bank. Just, you got Schlegel's just he's not. You would think, as they drop rates to zero, you would think that he would defend try to how should I say, not defend, but try to dissuade traders from getting long Swiss francs and talk about negative rates. And he's not Jordan. And the fact of the matter is that. And so it hasn't changed the idea that people should be buying Swiss francs, so they've been buying them in mass. So I don't know. You Ryan, what are you going to be trading today? Anything that you got going on today? I just realized how long we've been going.
Yeah, I'm in that dollar CAD short, which is broken under 80s. So I'm looking for that to go on. You've obviously missed the biggest tell for when the dollar can turn, and that's if Jim Craner comes out and says it's going to 120. If he does that, pile in with short.
I remember when the dollar mex was at 9. I remember I was long, and Jim Cramer, when we were at, it was two right here. We were at 990, and he said the dollar Mexican peso. He said the Mexican peso is going to strengthen dramatically. I happened to be long the dollar mex at that moment. I was like, "What did he just say?" Yeah, that was the bottom. Kramer did that. I'm gonna tip my hat to that there, Ryan. All right, Dale, what are you doing today? What are you gonna do?
Well, I'm not doing anything new, and I'm waiting for the opportune time
If you
to
want, we can
move.
go for a drink, Dale. If you have no
Oh,
plans.
yeah, I'd love to be there and have a drink with you, buddy. Honestly, I'm just going to watch the setups here. I think we're no more than 100 points away in the Dixie and maybe a week or two away from this wave completing and then a pretty good correction. So that's what I'm doing. I think we're real close to some type of high in the S&Ps after we make new contract highs. I still think we could see 57.50. So I'm stalking that, stalking the scalp on the short side of S&Ps, and think the dollar is completing wave 5, and I'm just going to be patient and let it happen.
All right. So you don't think on the wave count like what Greg is looking at and Jim Welsh are looking at, wave 5 could take us to 6,500? I mean,
Yes, I do. But first
oh, okay, you do.
57.
Okay.
Yeah, but
All right.
first 57,
Oh, oh,
58,
oh. Wow.
and
Okay.
then 64, and then another correction, and then
Damn.
7,500.
Yeah, I can't even figure out what's going to happen 15 minutes from now, let alone all
Well,
that. That's crazy. All right.
that's a roadmap.
Yeah, that is a roadmap. All right. Kman, and what are you doing today?
Oh, I'm what am I doing? I've done already quite a bit. So yeah, I'm keeping an eye on maybe the Aussie, if it would start to break. But no, as I said prior, I think if we see some dollar shopping by the US corporates in what is it? Maybe happening in the next couple of hours. Um, maybe perhaps reload a few dollar shorts, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with the moves that we've had, so I'm not going to risk massively either today.
Steve, what are you going to be doing here today? Aside from joining me on the Morning Edge in 40 minutes, or no, in 25 minutes.
Uh, I don't see any really appealing risk reward at the moment. If we got a stronger rebound in the dollar, I would have found that as an opportunity to sell, but unfortunately, we just stalled for a very short period of time. So, yeah, I don't see anything at the moment that's worth investing in.
All right, Steve. Well, for me, I'm gonna actually be buying this dip in the euro dollar. If we can see, like Kman just said, if we get some US dollar buying for, value date, corporate month end, if the euro dips back into the 106 or 116.50s, 116.60s, I'm gonna be a buyer there. But you guys want to know exactly what I'm doing? You can actually go to the trades room. You can see what Kman's doing, what Ryan's doing, what all these other really great traders. Benedict's been running that dollar, euro dollar from like, I don't know, 114 or something, and just spun out of it today. So, if you guys want to be in a chat room where you're talking to a bunch of traders, well, check out Forex Analytics. It's only $1 for 10 days. And I'll tell you this much. We'd love to have you there. And you gotta test it out before we have another sale, which could be right around the corner as we head into the summer months. So $1 for 10 days. That's it. All right, Dale, it's all yours, buddy. And I want to thank you guys for spending the extra time here today since Dale's guest was apparently sick.
Yeah, so thank you, Dream Team. K-Man, good job on coming back from a mic mishap today. Very, very
Thank
good
you, Dale.
very good tech, very good technical skills. And Ryan,
Good show,
as
Dale.
always,
Thank you.
bro. And Blake,
Cheers, mate.
you're the man. And thanks everyone for being here. Spread the word. There are a lot of people out there struggling. You could just tell them to come to F.A.C.E. It's no financial commitment. But if you know some guys, and everyone knows some guys that are starting fairly new, or guys that have been around that have lost their step in the market, or out of step with the market, telling people to come to F.A.C.E, I think you're doing a service for them to listen to the pros that are part of this company. And but remember, don't just count your charts and your candles and your bars, count your blessings. We'll see you tomorrow. Wrap up the week, TGIF tomorrow, although it felt like it today. We'll do it again. Like Ernie Banks used to say on the Cubs, let's play two. Always wanted to play a doubleheader. So good luck the rest of the day. You're going to be prepped for any reversals in the dollar, so don't worry about missing anything, because the beauty of this business is there's always another trade. Adios, everyone. Thank you, team.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Adios. See ya.